You could be anywhere doing anything, but you're hanging out with us. And we appreciate that. So, wherever you're listening and however you're listening, we appreciate you guys for listening. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Gameplan podcast. Alex Goodwin is my name. You can follow me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in tacos, S as in sangria, M as in margaritas. Kennedy Miller.
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing today?
Lamar's doing pretty good, ain't you, Lamar?
Yes,
I know
sir.
Lamar
Man,
great.
So, Ken, where can the folks find you on Twitter?
Find me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _
All right. And joining us once again tonight, the big homie, SinLawPreps.com, Lamar Gafford. Lamar, how you doing, dog?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You know, I'm happy. The Mavericks finally got a game in this series, and let's see if we can make the comeback to end all comebacks here over against Boston. So,
I absolutely. And I said S as in sangria, kind of like Lamar, you just mentioned. I should have said S as in swing back because that's the Dallas Mavericks finally did. They won game 4. A lot to a little. It doesn't really matter what the final score was. They beat the brakes off of the Celtics tonight. So, Lamar, is this just a situation of the Mavericks having some pride, or do you think maybe the Mavericks have figured some things out?
I think it's a little bit of both. I'm going to be very serious when I say this here. I feel like the Mavericks, obviously, with their backs up against the wall, they knew that they could not lose Game 4 at their own house, especially with the way that they played all season long. So I think that they had to have pride in order to do that for themselves. And what a way to really come out here by with Luka basically coming out after getting fouled out in Game 3 to really have a good Game 4 to pretty much start off the first quarter and even the second quarter. He pretty much set the tone for the Mavericks out there for the night, and then everybody else pretty much followed after that. Now, obviously it is one game. So that is something here if you're Boston, obviously, if you're looking at that right there. But again, for the Mavs, I think you can also take it as it's just one game now. We now can build that dreaded word momentum that we can kind of take here in order for us to possibly try to win the series. If you're the Mavericks, you got to focus on kind of something like what actually a Boston team that did in the 2004 ALCS with the Red Sox here. Down 3-0. They didn't focus on, hey, we have to win each and every single game. Let's just focus on inning by inning by inning. I feel like with the Mavericks, what they're going to try to do here is just try to win each quarter for the rest of the way here. Do our job for the rest of the quarters, and then the rest will take care of itself. So that's what I'm thinking at right now, where I feel like how this game kind of turned out to be a little bit.
What I saw more from them is just more energy expended on the defensive end by their best players. You can kind of tell, like Lamar said, like nobody wants to get swept on their home floor, right? So they came out with a lot of pride. They played hard. Some of it, Boston was missing some shots, and some of it, Luka kind of set the tone. Like you could tell early. Like one of the first things I noticed, I'm like, okay, this dude's not complaining. He's not really complaining that much tonight about calls. Like he's locked in. He's staying in front of guys. Like, he's never going to be a great defender, but he could have, like, tonight he showed that he's capable of being much better than he was in the first 3 games, which was an abysmal effort. And so I thought that they played better. And here's the reality, right? Like it's tougher. It's tougher for Boston to play defense when they're not making shots. Like it's a different type of defense when a team is taking it out and you're able to get back and set your defense. Then you missing shots and teams are getting out in transition, especially with two dynamic scorers like Kyrie and Luka, right? So, though the shots not falling, like these dudes had like what 28, 30 points close to halftime, right?
35 points at halftime.
35 points at halftime. Um, and so like with the NBA, with the way that the NBA is now, I'm kind of thinking like, all right, well, Dallas came out, they punched them in the mouth. Like, if Boston can cut it to 15 at halftime, they're gonna have a chance. And they can never cut it. Like every time Kyrie gets to the rim, Luka creates something. They got a couple of lobs, like Lively got some dunks, right? Gafford was getting to the free throw line. And they were living in the paint. Like they were living in the paint. And then you start to see it's easier to make shots when you're winning. Like now they're getting corner threes, right? Even freaking Tim Hardaway comes in the game, hits 5 straight threes. Like, what is going on? So, um, tip your cap to them. They did what they're supposed to do. They won tonight, and let's see. Like Lamar said, let's see if they can make it interesting to win in Boston. Because if they can win in Boston, then Game 6 in Dallas will be electric.
I think from the moment Game 3 was over, I had been thinking, like, kind of penciling it in my head. I think Dallas is going to win Game 4 just because they have Kyrie and Luka Doncic are too talented. And I think just the pride and performance that they have in themselves to get swept on their home floor, right? And we already see a question in the chat. The homie Matt already asked, is this going to Game 7? I think the only reason any of us have a scintilla of thought that this would go to Game 7 is because the team that the Dallas Mavericks are playing is the Boston Celtics. And we have seen the Boston Celtics lose. Like, we've seen them blow situations like this, right? We've seen Boston lose series after series where they're the better team, right? In 2018, in the conference finals against Cleveland, they were up, what, 3-2?
They were up 2-0.
Then it was 3-2.
I think so.
Yeah, that was a while back. Because I think that was LeBron's last year in Cleveland. So they were up 3-2, and I think
they were.
I think man for man, Boston had the better team. In 2021, this team was up 2-1 on Golden State, and I personally think man for man, they had a better team than Golden State did. Last year, they got down 3-0 to Miami. Miami did not have a better team than they did, right? Like, we've seen Boston blow it a handful of times, right? And when we've seen them blow it, sometimes it looked like it did tonight, where the offense is stuck in mud, right? For me, at least, it felt like the end of Game 3 was basically all of Game 4, which they couldn't buy a bucket. The offense was stuck in mud, right? They couldn't get anything going. And it just one long game of that stretch, Kennedy, you often mention that Boston has, that 7 or 8 minute lull where they just can't get anything going. That's what the entire game looked like. So for me, I'm looking at Boston and I'm going to ask the question, do they have the competitive maturity to get this done at home?
I think they'll get it done.
Do they have that? We like, let's finish this right here, right now, that Golden State had in Game 6 on their home floor 2 years ago, right? That you see teams like San Antonio have when they put Miami out of their misery in 2014, right? Do you have that, right? Can you look around and say, we can't give them any more hope? Let's end it now. Do they have that?
I think they do. I think, at the end of the day, this still a team that's been to, we talked about it last time, 5 or 6 conference finals since that duo has been together. They've got some playoff maturity, and they've closed out teams before. And so I think they understand what is at stake and the risk of not closing the deal this next game. So they're going to have the home crowd behind them. I think they're going to have some momentum going into it. So um, they should close it out. But again, games like games like this is why I can't remember who posed the question. I don't know if it was Matt. The superstar question. Like
Right.
on the last podcast,
Mm-hmm.
who do I see as a superstar? Like tonight, it wasn't the way that they lost. It was like I didn't see one thing where I was like, man, these dudes might take over. Like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, like they basically no showed. They basically like no showed. And it's like if you are a superstar, at least if you lose in game 4, it's gotta be like competitive. And if you're really that guy, you're trying to close out the deal. You're trying to close out the deal with your team. And I didn't get that sense tonight from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Like they're really good players, and I'm sure like I don't want to be like over exaggeration on one game because I'm sure one of them will bounce back and have a really good game next game, but they just didn't show up tonight. They didn't show up tonight, and they got outplayed, and it was tough to watch. It was over by midway through the third quarter, and they sat them down. Like when is the last time we seen that in the finals game? They put their bench in midway through the third quarter.
Ooh, you're asking me to go way back. I got one that I can remember. I think it was 2005, Detroit and San Antonio. I think it was game 3 with San Antonio. We got whipped. Again, we're going back 20 years, but that was the last time. And Pop waved the white flag. It felt like really, really, really. It was like, all right, we're going to regroup for game 4 because we just got our ass whipped tonight. You know, it's you know what Joe Mazzulla's probably in the locker room saying right now?
What?
You remember that scene from You Got Served after Marcus Houston and Mario and them got their money taken? What's Steve Harvey saying? Got your ass whooped tonight. But I done seen y'all whoop many ass right in this same place. That's Joe Mazzulla's speech, right? Because they got, like, we can go through every single metric. They got their asses kicked tonight.
They did.
Right? Like, I don't think it was really anything strategic or different that Dallas did. They just got whipped.
It's one of those things like they were the more desperate team. Like, I mean, like schematically, it wasn't too much different from the times before, right? From the games before that they did. But it's just an effort, right? If you don't let Boston get in rotation or get you in rotation, get the defense in rotation as much, it's going to be tougher for them to make shots. And they're going to put up threes. You know, I think when the starters were in, they shot more threes than Dallas had. But, you know, you make them take tougher shots, right? And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are having a bad game. They are very beatable, as you can see tonight. Now, what we talked about going into this, I didn't think that Dallas could do this 4 times. Like I didn't think that Dallas could expend this much effort and play this well four times in 7 games against Boston. So again, you know, we'll see if they can respond. When's the next game? Sunday?
Monday night.
We'll see if they can respond on Monday night. I don't think it will happen, but I would love it. I would love it because then it would add a little juice, you know, to this final series.
Look, and help these live stream podcasts because boy, those first 3 games, it was like, man, y'all look, Ken, they're making us work hard, man. They're making us work hard. It felt like the first year we did this it was Golden State and Boston. We had a whole we could have went for an hour and a half, 2 hours because there was so much to talk about. Didn't for Miami last year. Dud. Big dud. And now the first 3 games, well, really the first 4 games of this one, dud. And tonight is the biggest dud of them all. So we can go to fan questions and fan comments now. So Maya asks, so I'll go to Lamar with this one. What are your expectations for game 5 for the Mavs, Lamar?
Okay. So for the Mavericks, I feel like now that you got the momentum here, I think they're pretty much going to try to go ahead and try to do the same thing of what happened in tonight's game. Basically, play great defense, rebound, have a lot of effort. They now know what's worked. I feel like Luka's probably going to once again probably try to take over the game in the first quarter, and I could probably see maybe if it's a close game, maybe that might mean Kyrie takes it over in the second half. Kind of what they've been doing all playoffs long and really since the second half of the season. Um, I just think that they're going to probably more than likely get a much better effort from Boston, with it being on their home court. So, but I think again, if you're the Mavs right now, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. And the thing is, the thought is right here. You've got to take Game 5 in Boston, obviously, because if you take Game 5 in Boston, it's a whole different series after that. You go back home, or tie up the series. Next thing you know, everything's just out there. So I think that's pretty much the expectations for the Mavericks here in Game 5. They're just going to continue to play. I think they're going to play basically the same way that they played in this game tonight. A lot of effort, a lot of execution, and we'll see how it goes.
Kennedy, I want to ask you a question in like just to really get a coach's perspective on this. So, like going back to Boston and the fact that they just got wore out tonight, right? As a coach, when your team gets beaten this convincingly, this soundly, what's your strategy? Do you just burn the film and say this game was an aberration? This is not a true representation of how we play, and this was, everybody has a bad night some nights? Or do you kind of hone in on it and say, all right, guys, there were some serious problems here? Like, what is your approach generally on stuff like that?
I would, in my opinion, I wouldn't show the film unless we, like, as a coaching staff, we came to the consensus like that there is something like strategically wrong and not just like a lack of effort, right? If there's schematically something that we schemed wrong, or that they've thrown a wrinkle in something that we like to do, then obviously we have to throw it and we have to rep it for the next couple of days and make sure that we've got it down. But if it's just a lack of effort, which I got the feel that it was more of, and I'm not going to say that Boston didn't try, but you could tell that Dallas really needed this game, and they came out like they needed it. And Boston was hoping for that switch to flip at some point, and they were trying to get, I think they were trying to get a stretch where they can go on like a 7-0 run or a 9-0 run, and hopefully the momentum would switch and they just turn it on. But they couldn't consistently knock down shots, and they couldn't consistently get stops. And so it just never happened for them. And so for me, I wouldn't really show too much of this film. I would keep pointing out the things that we have done to get us to a 3-1 lead. And, now we have to close the deal. I kind of like what Lamar said. You're trying to win every quarter now. And really, if you can finish the quarters, that's really the most important thing, right? Because even game 3, like, Dallas has a pretty good first quarter, right? But less than 2 minutes left. Luka falls on the ground, tries to get a foul call, so he should be the first one back. Sam Hauser hits a 3. I think that cuts it to 3. I can't remember something it
was 3.
Then Luka flops again, tries to get another call, less than 5 seconds. They push the ball up ahead. Jason Tatum gets a dunk. So that really good first quarter that they could have been up, 6 to 8 points. Now they're only up 1. And so, like Alex said, if I'm Boston and they're only up 1, and then they're only up 1 going into halftime, oh yeah, we can win this game. We could definitely win this game.
I think for me, I want to say for Dallas, my big question is, can you sustain this level of intensity and energy and desperation for 4 games in a row? right? Because they've backed themselves into a corner to the point where they have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they played really well in game 3 as a team, save for those Luka Doncic moments, right? They played really well. Probably they were really, you can call it playing about as well as they had.
Mm-hmm.
And they still lost by 7 or 8 points. They still found themselves down by 21 points midway through the fourth, right? So now they're at a place where, at least for me, I want to kind of ask Lamar, I want to ask you this question. Do you think they're at a place where they're like, all right, now that we're down 3-0, everyone expects us to lose? Are they almost playing with house money?
I guess in a way, yes. You could probably say that right then and there. Um, I think again, just having having your home crowd being behind you, I think that probably helped them out in that case there. Really give them some juice in that case here. Um, but like I said, we'll see what happens here in Game 5 when they go into hostile territory, pretty much in this case, because like we said, Boston has been a house of horrors for one Kyrie Irving for the last couple of times that he's been there. And if they obviously again they know that you know it's now or never pretty much at this point here, and they know that they're gonna have to at least get it done in Boston, not once but twice if they really want to win this series. So it's gonna be a tall task, but they're gonna have to come out there and bring it despite everything possibly being brought back in them because uh we now know we pretty much know what Boston's capable of, and especially the fans are capable of.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think in a way it could be playing with house money. Um, but I just think it depends on how it starts, right? Like if they come out and like you said, like Lamar said, like Luka gets it going, and those role players are rallying off Luka. Like I think there is like a momentum swing that goes into it, right? Because I don't remember the last time. Well, last year actually,
Yeah.
but it's like a. I was about to say I don't remember the last time a 3-0 lead has gone to a game 7, but Boston and Miami last year. It's like a snowball, right? It just starts rolling downhill. Like if they get up by a lot midway through this game, the tension starts to go to Boston, right? Like now we have to finish this. We need to close this because we don't want to go back to Dallas. And if you do go back to Dallas, I would be very amazed to see the stat of how many times a team up 3-0 wins that game 6 on the road, right? Because it almost seems like you're going to lose that game. Like that team is going to be so fired up, so hyped to try and get it to a game 7 that they just blow the doors. And I always think about like that. And I know they went down 3-0, but I think about that 2016 that Cleveland and Golden State,
Mm-hmm.
and Golden State's up 3-1, right? Cleveland wins that game in Golden State 3-2, and then game 6, like you just had a feeling like there's no way that Golden State's going to win this game. Like you just knew, especially from the start of the game with the crowd behind them, like, oh yeah, this is going to 7. And then it's anybody's ball game.
That's the part I think for Boston when we talk about, do you have a superstar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a guy, right? Because this is a situation. I see Matt in the comment mention Kobe Bryant, right? If you have a guy, your guy is going to come out and try to assert himself from the word go in game number 5, right? Now, with Brown and Tatum, this might look really bad, right? We might get a whole bunch of step back 3-pointers from the left wing from Jason Tatum. And I promise you, Kennedy, every time he takes one of those, I want to scream every single. I'm like, here he go.
Go.
Like, I'm just like, why does he like making his life hard? Right? Like, I don't know if he's like the rapper Nas, where Nas is such a cold rapper, where Nas is like, yeah, y'all can give me some mediocre beats, it don't matter. right? Because it's almost too easy if you give me some banging beats, right?
Mhm.
Too easy. What's the fun, right? It almost seems like Jason Tatum like playing with the game on all Madden
Mhm.
when he don't need when he don't need to, right? Like you're much better than this, right? But are Brown and Tatum gonna come out and put their foot down, right? Because we can think about times where a superstar has come out in a situation like this and put their foot down, like, nah, it's a wrap. Steph a couple years ago when they played in Boston, game 6, right? I could think about LeBron 2014, that game 5 in San Antonio. LeBron scored 18 of I think Miami's first 20. Now, mind you, San Antonio rallied back from down 18-6, and then they proceeded to blow Miami's doors off anyway, right?
Mhm.
But that's just that I've got to come out and we got to go. We got to do this now, right? Is Brown or Tatum going to do that, right? I'm not sure. And that's why I think we're here talking about, like, can Dallas make a comeback? Because I think collectively we do not trust the Boston Celtics. We don't think Boston has a guy at that level that's going to do that. And because of that, we're like, you know, I can see Luke and Kyrie pulling this off, you know?
Yep. I mean, they got to show us, right? Like, we hate the step backs and all that, but you know, if they're going in, right, they only just need one game to win. Like that big, like next Monday could very well be the game that Tatum's step back jumpers are going in, and he just looks like, you know, another version of a light skinned Kobe Bryant. You know what I mean? Like, but they're just so inconsistent, right? Like it is so frustrating because again, I like both of them. I don't have any negative agenda on them like I've had on some in the past.
Like
But
Solomon Hill or Damian Lillard.
let's move on.
Hey, why you just do like Bernie Mac used to do when he's sitting there, America? and they click back when Jordan done been bullying the kids at the school, and then Bernie's like, let's move on.
But that really threw me off, especially that first name, because I'm trying to be great on our airwaves. I really enjoy them, right? So I really enjoy watching them play, but it's just the inconsistencies that they have, right? And so maybe they need this moment to really cement it. Like this is what put their foot down, right, and close the deal. Close the deal. So, wow, I just got breaking news. Charles Barkley announced next year will be his last year on television.
What? No. Like, wait, this is Charles Barkley. Is Charles Barkley doing a farewell tour on
Like
Inside the NBA?
it just came on my screen. It said Charles Barkley has announced that
Wow.
next year will be his last year on television.
I have gotten. Was this an ESPN notification or?
It was I guess he said it on NBA TV tonight.
You know what? Look, you know what I'm gonna say? He's gonna give those folks in San Antonio hell next year.
Yahoo Sports just posted it. Oh my gosh.
What it's gonna be one for the road, and it's gonna be Chuck. Like, imagine Charles Barkley acts a fool anyway, right? But imagine Charles Barkley after he didn't put his 2 weeks notice in
with nothing to lose.
FCC, they're gonna get all the money from him at CNC.
Listen, last year when they had that thread on Twitter of Charles Barkley's funniest moments, I forgot how. Like, obviously, we all know Charles Barkley's funny. I forgot how many lines this man has said. That I don't even. But he asked Kenny Smith. Well, he told Kenny Smith, he's like, you know what, you never get a woman on for their birthdays, right? Kenny Smith's like, what is that? He's like, A watch? He's like, why would you never give him a watch, Chuck? Because there's a clock on the stove.
What?
That man said, these women be milking this pregnancy stuff. You can't tell me that it's worse than a sprained ankle on a basketball court.
I ain't with him on that. You gonna look, Kennedy. You're not gonna have a national organization women boycotting this year's show,
I'm like, Charles, what are you talking about,
bro? You know what
Ernie
Charles is
tried to
like,
stop him.
bro. Ernie, bro. God bless Ernie, because you know Ernie has to be stressed when he's got them folks in his ear. We gotta go to break. Come on, we gotta run this ad for Trader. We gotta run this thing for Prize Picks. Ernie trying to get them back on track. Like the two things I want to talk about now is. One of them is you remember the time when Jussie Smollett and the whole hoax thing. You remember?
Funniest one I think I've ever watched live. Because
yes.
Ernie was trying so hard to get off of that subject. Like, and Shaq just eggs it on. What'd you say, Chuck? What'd you say, Chuck?
What they do, Chuck? Like, and he's over there, he's like, America, don't write checks. And no, because he brings it like it was over, and then the next segment or two, here he comes back again. He was like, they're writing a check that he said they're letting their mouths write a check that they can't cash. He was like, I thought you shouldn't write checks, you committing crimes. Chuck, he was like, America, if you go, don't write. And he's like, Shaq, please. He's trying to rein him in. And bro, you know, inside the NBA is really just like, remember when you was in school and you were sitting with your homies in the back of the classroom or wherever, and y'all over there giggling and making jokes, and there's that one friend who's egging you on. Like, that is Shaq. He's like this. What do you say? What they be eating, Chuck?
Oh man.
No, when he was like, how they eat the churros, Chuck? Did Chuck get the wheeze? Is Shaq get the wheezing?
Oh, I hate that he's gonna be retired, but I mean he's done it. He's done it for a while now. So, oh man, I'm gonna miss Chuck.
But we got to get more from Chuck, though.
You know,
this bro next year, like, don't even like. I just want Ernie to let the gloves come off, right? Hey, Ken, do you remember that time when they were that gymnast was flipping at the Rockets game? You remember when Chuck? Like Charles Laugh's trip to San Antonio.
Oh man, I hope they're good too. I hope they at least make it to like the play-in or something, so he can be out there for a playoff game. Oh man,
bro, what did he say? They flew them women in from Houston.
After we get off, I'm about to watch Charles Barkley's Funniest Moments on TNT.
Yes.
I forgot about the churros.
No, you know what I just thought about? He had one, bro, and Ernie's always like, oh God, we're gonna do this one again. Bro, it was one time he was like, I have an announcement. Chuck was like, just randomly. I think Gilbert Arenas was on that day. He was like, I have an announcement to make, America. I was in San Antonio. I was in San Antonio the other day, Ernie, for the Final Four. He was like, them churros good, Ernie.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Like, you think he's gonna apologize and like double back? Then he was like, I understand it.
Oh man. How about another good moment from Charles Barkley? You know, when he had to read out the teleprompter.
Oh God.
Yeah. I'm Charles Barkley and just reading everything off the teleprompter. The next thing you know, it's like, I'm a dumb. Like, yes. And so like
Was it last year when he was talking
Shut
about they
man.
were in Boston and he was like, I want to ride the monster, and Shaq just kept walking out. And Shaq was just over there dead. And it was the way he said it too. I want to ride the monster.
I shouldn't be laughing this much.
Hey, dude. Yo, hey, yo, guys, I got tears coming in my eyes. I don't know why. I don't know why.
This dude said, I want to run.
Charles Barkley has
Like
given us the gift of television, man. He has given us the gift of television. There will be none like him. There will be none like him.
No.
None.
Oh gosh.
Because nobody else can make us look. We're over here. I'm tearing up.
No.
Yo, I haven't laughed like that in a minute, and I wasn't expecting to tonight.
I definitely did not expect to laugh this much tonight.
I want to ride the monster, Shaq.
I can't breathe. Oh gosh.
Let's not forget about that time that Blake Griffin with the police presence thing. He was like, this is the first time I ever heard of police presence and NBA in the same sentence. It was just trying to mock Blake Griffin. Help! I'm about to get beat up by Chris Paul. Can somebody save me?
Oh gosh. Audience, I'm so sorry we've gone on this laughing tangent. If you have not watched Charles Barkley's Funniest Moments, if you don't know what we're referring to, it is plenty of YouTube videos. Please look it up. Even for the casual fan, you will understand how funny this is.
Yo, it's like an hour-long compilation.
Oh my gosh.
And shout out to whoever put this together.
Thank you.
Because you are a saint. Like, that is one of those videos I watch when some things you do when you having a bad day, you like, I know it'll cheer me up. I want to ride the monster. Don't ask why. That's so doggone funny. Yo, now we're just gonna have to deal with Stephen A. and Shannon making a fool of themselves talking about everything. And that's not gonna be any fun.
Oh.
That won't be any fun. And that is another episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Kennedy Miller, my guy.
It's been a pleasure. Oh man.
Where can the folks find you on the artist formerly known as Twitter, my guy?
I'm sorry. The way he said monster. I'm trying to get off. I couldn't stop laughing at the churros and then
Kid.
Underscore Kennedy Miller underscore Kennedy. You know where to find me, damn it.
He said it's in the show notes.
You know where to find me.
Lamar Gafford, my boy.
What's going on, man?
Where can the folks find your work, dog? Where can they find your work? Where we're not talking about Charles Barkley and other foolishness.
You can't find me on top of the monster anymore, but you can find me on SinLawPreps.com, and you can also find me on Twitter at Lamar Gafford, all in one word. Once again, that is Lamar Gafford, all in one word. I am so sorry. I am laughing because Charles Barkley is the greatest of all time and just making us all feel good and feel funny. So, yes, once again, Lamar Gafford, all in one word on Twitter and also SinLawPreps.com.
Oh, Jesus. This laugh has been biblical this evening.
Oh, okay.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. On Twitter, Alex Goodwin TSM, as I wipe the tears out of my eyes. That's T as in tears. S as in sangria, M as in monster. Follow the show on Instagram at follow the show on Instagram at _ the Game Plan Podcast. Again, on Instagram at _ the Game Plan Podcast. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, we appreciate you guys for listening. For Lamar Gafford and Kennedy Miller, my name is Alex Goodwin. This has been the Game Plan Podcast. We will see you guys after game number 5. Y'all take it light.